What is going on, guys? It is your boy Connor, and I am here with my very good special friend Nick. And this is our podcast. We're Connor and Nick tackle sports. And Nick, introduce yourself.
What up, guys? I am Nick. Welcome to the podcast. Thank you for listening to the first episode, the inaugural episode.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. We are very sorry we couldn't get out a podcast episode for week 1 of the NFL. We really didn't have everything set up, and it wasn't going to look good, so we just decided to not even do it. Twitters are right there. They'll be down in the link below also. But for right now, we are Connor and Nick Tackle Sports, but for right now, we're going to focus on football, and we are in week 2 of the NFL. And as you guys can see on the screen, I'm going to have a new picture every time for every week we do this podcast of probably the greatest moment from that week. And right now, as you guys can see, I have Eddie Pinero, the Dinero, hitting the game winner for the Bears. But, Nick, how about we hop into these games?
Yes. Right before we do, just letting everybody know we will be doing a ton of different sports here. Obviously, right now, it's just the NFL. But once the NBA season comes in, we'll be doing that. Maybe if you guys want, we'll have some special guests come on throughout the season or stuff like that. But yeah, obviously right now, like you said, we are just going to focus on football. So yeah, let's jump in.
All right, let's jump into it. So the very first game we have on the plate right now was the Thursday night game. And let me tell you, wasn't really that good of a game. It was the Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus the Panthers. Just a few stats. I'm going to be naming off a lot of stats for you guys. I have a little cheat sheet next to me. Cam Newton hasn't really been looking that good. He only had 333 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. Not a very good outing by him. It looked like he overthrew a lot of receivers. He underthrew a lot of receivers. He just doesn't look comfortable in the pocket right now. What do you think, Nick? How do you think Cam is looking right now?
So if you were let's just say you're an NFL fan, all right?
Okay.
If you don't really pay attention to the games themselves, you would look at this stat line and you would say 333 yards, not bad,
and nothing else.
But then you look at the fact that he had 51 attempts.
Really?
And yes, he threw 51 passes and only completed 25 of them. That's below 50% with people that, can't do math. But another stat I saw was Cam Newton in the last 2 years has the highest rate of uncatchable passes. Uncatchable passes is pretty self-explanatory. It's a pass that the quarterback throws, that is uncatchable by any receiver.
Yes.
He throws the most uncatchable passes 8% higher than the next person at 33%.
Really?
Yes.
So going from the Panthers, who dropped to 0-2, I'm going to go over to the Buccaneers, who actually did not look as bad as I thought they were going to look. Obviously, Jameis Winston has had a lot of problems in his years in the NFL, a lot of stealing and doing whatever he wants. But he actually didn't look bad. Sometimes he looks like the quarterback that you never ever want on your team. And then sometimes he can be the best player on the field.
Yes.
But he did sling in one touchdown. He had over 200 yards, which really is all you could ask for from a QB of his standards. He slung in that one pass to Chris Godwin, actually, who's really starting to stand out as his number one. And I think he will be not the number one, but the number 2 behind Mike Evans, obviously. But Chris Godwin is really making a name for himself in the NFL. 8 receptions, 121 yards. I'm guessing he would play the slot or the second out or the second wide out. Honestly, I don't know what they do. But let's go to some rushing yards. Peyton Barber. Who knew Peyton Barber would do pretty good on the ground against that Panthers front? 82 yards, and he had 1 touchdown. Honestly, if you guys had Peyton Barber in your fantasy lineup, he actually did pretty good for you. But I do want to talk about, I don't know if you caught it, but the very last play of the game. So they line up in this wacky fourth down on the 2-yard line. Actually, it's probably the 5. They had to get 1 yard for a first down. It wasn't a touchdown. They just had to get a first down. And they line up in some kind of mix match wildcat, I think. Christian McCaffrey runs to the left side, does a fake reverse, and he needs to get maybe 1 to 2 yards, and he's shoved out of bounds next to the line. What do you think about that play call?
So, okay, the play call was atrocious, but
so you don't think they should have ran that?
No, but you got to give credit to Vernon Hargreaves. It was a beautiful play. But here's the thing: Cam Newton is different, and he's a different quarterback because of his his rushing power. He should be able to run the ball. I don't see how you can, if you have what many people think is the most mobile quarterback in the league, has been for the past five years. Why don't you run him there? I mean, yeah, Christian McCaffrey's really good, but if you have a brute quarterback that can just
especially how long he is.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, he's so tall. All he's got to do, and he's proved it before, that he can reach that ball over the line and just get that first down. And the crazy thing is that they didn't even need the touchdown; they just wanted to get the first down.
Yeah,
which is it was absolutely bonkers.
Yeah, it was a question. It was a questionable play call at best.
Very questionable play call. Definitely not something I would have gone with. I definitely would have either I might have sent him up the middle.
Oh yeah,
and have and push through. And honestly, 9 times out of 10, I don't think Vernon Hargreaves is going to make that tackle.
No, it was a really good tackle.
It was a very good tackle by. I think I really like Vernon Hargreaves. I like all Tampa Bay DBs. I think they're all very good. But
very underrated.
Very very underrated defense is what I got to say for the Buccaneers. But yeah, Panthers do drop to 0-2, and one stat is that Cam Newton has lost his last 8 starts, obviously dating back to last season.
Yeah.
I think that he needs to pick up whatever he is losing right now, and he needs to get this Panthers out of this rut that they're in, sitting at 0-2. But let's go on to another game. One team that's very surprising right now, the 49ers. The 49ers took on the Bengals, and when you look at this game on paper, you think that, wow, this is just a whatever game. Who cares? But little do we know that the 49ers wanted to open up an ass pounding on the Cincinnati Bengals.
Say the least.
Jimmy Garoppolo, coming back after that ACL surgery, comes back 297 yards, slings in 3 touchdowns, had 1 INT. Obviously, that 1 INT didn't affect the game as much. But how do you think Jimmy Garoppolo is going to respond from a game like this?
Hopefully he keeps it going.
You think he'll keep it going?
I think he will. I hope he will. I've always been rooting for Jimmy Garoppolo ever since he got traded from the New England Patriots. He's just been really unlucky with that ACL injury, like you said.
Yeah.
Now that he's back, I mean, that offense it just looked explosive. I mean, in half of the people on there, you didn't even know. Jeffrey Wilson had 2 rushing touchdowns. I've never heard of Jeffrey Wilson in my life.
I don't even know who that guy is. What I have down in my notes is the one running back that I know is Matt Breida.
Yeah.
And he had 121 yards.
Yeah, and then you had Raheem Mostert, who had another 83 yards. That's if you can drop over 240 yards of rushing offense every game, I'm sorry, but you're going to win a lot of those games.
Oh yeah.
Along with Deebo Samuel, 5 catches for 87 yards and a touchdown. Marquise Goodwin, 3 for 77 and a touchdown. And Mostert added in 3 catches for 68 and a touchdown. I mean, there's no big names on this offense. That's what's crazy. They have a bunch of nobody wide receivers.
They are really making a name for themselves. They're making themselves
a
very dominant force in the NFC. Obviously, they're in that division with the Seahawks and the Rams, and they really need to make a name for themselves if they want to contend basically with their big brothers in that division.
Yeah.
But let's look over to the other side, the Bengals. Obviously, everybody thought the Bengals were gonna stink it up, and obviously they're not proving anybody wrong right now. 0-2. Yeah. They can't get things going. Andy Dalton, I don't think he's the answer. You've been running this test for about 6 years, I'm thinking. Maybe less than that. I don't know. I might be over-exaggerating. But he did have he had 311 yards and 2 touchdowns. And honestly, he's really we're finding out what John Ross really is.
Yes.
This is a guy who comes out from Washington, I'm pretty sure. He comes out, breaks the 40 record, and just fell off the face of the earth. Got drafted by the Bengals. I think he's in his 3rd season. Correct me if I'm wrong.
John Ross is in his 3rd or 4th. It's 3rd or 4th.
3rd or 4th. He hasn't done diddly squat in any of these seasons, and he's coming out in these first 2 games lighting it up. Just doing everything he can. 4 receptions, 112 yards, and he had a touchdown. Staying with the Bengals wide receiver core, you have another young guy, Tyler Boyd, who last year decided, he's like, I got to step up. He's like, I got to start doing my part. Now he is the number 1, now that A.J. Green is out for who knows how long. He hauled in 10 catches, and those are all his targets. He had 10 targets, 10 catches, 122 yards. What do you think about the Bengals? What is your case on the Bengals?
I am a very some people say that a winning quarterback is a good quarterback.
Yes.
All right. Now, I don't agree with that statement whatsoever. There's differences. Andy Dalton in his career is 68, 52, and 2.
Really?
That's a winning quarterback. All right. If you would look at that number and you would say that, wow, that's a winning quarterback. That's a guy who wins a lot of games. Then you look at what he does in those games, and it's just not good. I mean, 311, 2 touchdowns, and interception. Mm-hmm. They don't have a running game right now. Joe Mixon is hurt. They don't have much of a running game. AJ Green is out, but those wide receivers are really showing out.
Yes, they are.
They have a suspect defense at best. I don't like the Bengals. I don't think they're going to be able to do much this season. Honestly, if I was them, I wouldn't even bring AJ Green back.
Let him stay out?
I'd let him stay out for the season. I don't know where he is in his contract, but I wouldn't even play him this season. This is just a wash season, mm-hmm. and he's coming off of an injury last year, an injury this year. He hasn't played 16 games in, I believe, 3 years now.
Wow.
So, I don't know. Injury prone. I'd say, you have Tyler Boyd and John Ross that do give you a chance to win. I just don't think they're that good of a team.
Yeah, and the final to that game was 41-17.
Yeah, not close.
I caught a little glimpse of this game. It was close in the beginning, and then the 49ers just decided to blow the game open. Honestly, I don't have anything for the Bengals. They're definitely going to be a top or a bottom 5 team. They're going to have a good pick in the draft. Is basically all.
Now, do they draft Tua?
I don't even know. That's basically all they can look forward to right now. I think the Dolphins might end up not winning a game. We'll get to that game eventually. But going on to the next game, we're going to Detroit, taking on the Chargers. Which, looking at this game, I really thought the Chargers would manhandle them. I was like, okay, Chargers, Lions, come on. The Lions
Chargers have to win this game.
The Lions haven't been anything in the past. Who knows how many years? Matthew Stafford has never won a playoff game. He's never won the NFC North since he's been in the league, and for some reason they decided to keep him. They signed him to this big contract. He's still here. He puts up good numbers. Matthew Stafford is like, I take Matthew Stafford as the best mediocre quarterback.
I agree with that.
He is the best. Matthew Stafford is not elite, but he's not completely bad.
Yeah, it's just he can't.
He's in that
mid-card area. He can't take this team to the playoffs, man.
He cannot. But the Lions really showed out this game. Matthew Stafford, 245 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Kenny Golladay, who's becoming his favorite receiver, he's going to be the number 1 on this team. 8 receptions, 117 yards, and basically the game-winning touchdown. This was a very low-scoring game. And then I'm glad he can get it done at home, which it takes Detroit 1-0-1, obviously, after the tie last week. But the more I want to talk about Detroit on how good they were, the more I would like to talk about how bad the Chargers were.
Yeah,
because
the Chargers
you're taking. Sorry to cut you off.
No,
but
you're all right.
You're taking a Chargers team who went all the way to the playoffs last season, and looked amazing, and they come out and stink it up against Detroit. Mm-hmm. So I want to know what you think was Detroit just on their game, or was LA just lackluster?
LA is lackluster. They had a lot of expectations coming into this season. Obviously, like you said, they went into the playoffs. They played good, but the playoffs are a different breed.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to win those games if you can't. If you can't end it, Phillip Rivers, 21 for 36, 293 yards, no touchdowns, and interception. I don't like the way they looked. Their defense looked slow. Their offense kind of looked like they didn't want to be there, really. Mm-hmm. The only person who really looks like they want to be there is Austin Eckler.
Austin Eckler, baby.
Austin Eckler looks amazing. I don't know if Melvin Gordon will ever play another snap for the Chargers. Mm-hmm. But the Chargers, they need to pick it up. You can't lose to the Detroit Lions.
Definitely.
I know it's a road game. Road games are hard, but you can't lose to the Lions.
Especially being in the division with the Chiefs. You got to think that the Chiefs are going to be the number 1. in that division. But you always the Chargers are always that team that everybody forgets about.
Yeah.
The Chargers are definitely the most underrated team in the NFL. Phillip Rivers, like you said, 293 yards and a pick. But that pick at the end of the game was very costly.
Yes.
Because that is basically what ended it.
Great catch by Darius Slay.
Yes. Great interception. Keenan Allen also hauled in 8 catches for 98 yards. And like you said, Austin Eckler, how good has he been? I know we talked about him, but he is taking over the league right now.
He is just stepping up. He is stepping into the.
He is doing everything he can to get this team going. He just looks good. He looks very good.
Yeah.
2 rushing touchdowns already on the season. That might be wrong. I don't know. But I was looking at the wrong stats. But the Chargers do not look. They did not look good in that game at all.
No.
But going on to the next game, the game that I probably caught the most, other than the Bears game, is definitely the Vikings and the Packers game. Packers ended up they're playing at home. They're in Lambeau. They ended up winning this game 21-16, and I think that Kirk Cousins just ain't it. I don't think. I've never liked Kirk Cousins. I never liked him when he was in Washington. I especially don't like him now that he's in Minnesota.
Yeah.
I think that the Vikings got lucky last week with a defense that hasn't been good for the past 5 years in the Falcons.
Yep.
Dalvin Cook is becoming one of the best running backs in the league, but when you have a quarterback like Kirk Cousins, I don't know how far you can go. Now, he did throw 230 yards. He had 1 touchdown, but he did throw 2 interceptions, and that last interception is basically ruined the game for them. What do you think? What do you think about the Vikings? How does their offense, how does their defense look?
They have a top 5 defense, I think.
Definitely.
I believe they do have a top 5 defense. I think with a serviceable quarterback, they have a top 5 offense. When you have Adam Thielen, Stephon Diggs, Dalvin Cook, and Kyle Rudolph as your top 4 weapons, and you can't throw 50% and you throw 2 interceptions and you can't win that football game that you should have won, there's something wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I know they gave him that huge contract, but the Vikings are in trouble. They are in trouble.
One thing I want to say is that you have Stephon Diggs, who has emerged to be basically he was your number 1 until last year.
Mm-hmm.
Now Adam Thielen took over that role. But listen, 1 catch on the day. Yeah. Now, I will give it props. That 1 catch was a touchdown. It was a touchdown. I'm scared about how Stephon Diggs is going to lose his cool. If you could catch it, he did take his helmet off, started jawing at the fans and everything. And then that kind of ended up screwing over his team because the PAT attempt, listen to this. This is a 49-yard PAT attempt because of Stephon Diggs. And if you guys watch that, it got blocked. It got blocked. Mm-hmm. But I think Stephon Diggs, he had 7 targets, he caught 1. And I doubt that Stephon Diggs is dropping these passes because Stephon Diggs is a very good quarterback. He just very good wide receiver. He just doesn't have the quarterback that's throwing it to him.
Yeah, I brought up that stat earlier about Cam Newton being the number 1 most uncatchable passes. Number 2,
Kirk Cousins. Definitely.
None other than Kirk Cousins. Stephon Diggs, he did have that touchdown that got called back because of penalty on Dalvin Cook. I didn't get to watch a lot of this game, but from what I did see that last interception that he did not need to throw the ball.
Yeah, definitely. They said it looked exactly like the pick that Mitchell Trubisky threw on that Thursday night opening game. In double coverage, no need to throw it.
Yeah.
They said it looked exactly the same. But going away from the quarterback and the wide receiver, how about Dalvin Cook?
Oh my gosh.
Dalvin Cook has been plagued with injuries the past 2 years, and he is really coming out. Knock on wood, he doesn't get hurt again. I really don't want to see him get hurt again. He had I think it might have been a 75-yard touchdown.
Yep, 75-yard touchdown run. Absolutely beautiful.
It was amazing. He finished with 154, and then that touchdown, obviously. Mm-hmm. But I think that Dalvin Cook he hasn't even hit his full potential yet. He's not even in his prime. I think he is going to become maybe the best running back in the league at some point. Wow. But I'm going to go from over one team that I hate over to another team that I despise, to the Packers. Obviously, you know the Packers. You know their deal. Aaron Rodgers still slinging that thing. 209, 2 touchdowns. One of those touchdowns was to Jamal Williams, the backup running back, which was very interesting. And Devontae Adams really did his part, but not in the touchdown totals. He had 7 catches with 106 yards. But with Aaron Rodgers, I've seen a lot of hate between him and Matt LaFleur. I think that's the coach's name.
Yeah, Matt LaFleur.
Honestly, there is a clip out there of him. Aaron Rodgers had to throw the ball out of bounds, and he looked straight at Matt LaFleur, and they started arguing about it. They were actually yelling at each other.
Yeah, what do you think about it? I want to know your opinion because some people say that it's a good thing, being able to have that feeling between the quarterback and the coach, being able to talk freely. Some people say that Aaron Rodgers is just trying to get at Matt LaFleur. What do you think about that?
Well, I think that Aaron Rodgers has never liked Matt LaFleur. It's because Aaron Rodgers has been in the same system for the past who knows how many years, and he is getting a completely different playbook that he doesn't even know what to do with. Yeah. And he thinks that Aaron Rodgers, obviously, we all think that Aaron Rodgers obviously knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't tell Aaron Rodgers that he doesn't know what he's doing. If he is reading a defense and he wants to make an audible, let him make the audible. Yeah. You can't be mad at him for not wanting to run your plays. And then when it doesn't work, obviously Aaron Rodgers is going to get pissed off and he's going to go to the sidelines. He said in the press conference, they talked about it, said that he was they talked about the yelling. He said that he definitely wasn't saying how much they love each other, and he definitely wasn't saying how much they FU'd each other. He said it's just they're very good. They're very good guys. High drive for the game. You do like to see the emotion, how like they really care about what's going on.
Yeah.
And I love getting away from like this whole Matt LaFleur thing. One thing I just looked at, I'm looking at these stats, and you look at the Packers wide receiver core, it is atrocious.
Really
but there are some people that like Geronimo Allison. If you told me that Geronimo Allison was going to be like their number 2 receiver, like that's crazy.
Yeah.
I never thought he was going to be ever anything. MVS, who's becoming someone. Like, Aaron Rodgers knows how to take these people and turn them into superstars.
Indeed.
Just like Tom Brady.
Indeed he does.
But Packers do go to 2-0. They take over the NFC North for right now. Going to a game, you went over the next game that me and you basically didn't even know was on TV. It was the Colts and the Titans. And the Colts barely squeaked out 19-17. I'm guessing it was a lot of field goals back and forth. Colts, Jacoby Brissett, obviously with Andrew Luck retiring, gets thrown into the starting role. And I'm going to tell you right now, he might not have had a lot of... Oh, my voice cracked. He might not had a lot of yards, but he showed out with 3 touchdowns.
Yeah.
146 yards, 3 touchdowns. He did throw an interception, but that's not really a big deal. What do you have about this game? Do you have anything?
It kind of disappointed me, honestly, but the Titans lost this game. I like the Titans coming into the season. I think it's a do-or-die season for Marcus Mariota. I think if this does not work out, you've been testing this for many years, just like Jameis Winston. I think if this year doesn't work out for either of them, it's time to let them go. But yeah, it disappointed me. I like the Titans' defense. I think they're really good. Love what Derrick Henry's been doing recently. It was a disappointing game because, obviously we all had a lot of hope coming into the season for the Colts. Andrew Luck then retired. Jacoby Brissett takes over, gets that new contract. I don't really see either of these teams doing anything or making the playoffs. From what I've seen from the Titans now, I don't think they'll be able to make the playoffs. I just don't think they have the offensive firepower with Marcus Mariota.
Yeah, Jacoby Brissett really got put in a crappy role. Basically just sitting on the sidelines, and then you find out that your starting quarterback has retired, and you're like, oh, well, now I'm the guy.
Yeah.
So he had 3 touchdowns, which is awesome. But looking over to the Colts run game, honestly, I don't even know what to make of it. Obviously, they have Marlon Mack, who actually became a very good running back. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh yeah.
But then they also have Jordan Wilkins. Jordan Wilkins was the one who led the game in rushing yards for the Colts, 82 yards with only 5 carries. Mm-hmm. And then you look at Marlon Mack with 20 carries and 51 yards.
Yeah.
Like Marlon Mack, like what are you doing, my guy? Like if you want to be this starting running back, you want to take over this team, you basically came out of nowhere, and I think you need to put up more than 51 yards with 20 carries. And I know for a fact that offensive line of the Colts is not bad. Last year it was the worst offensive line, or no, last year it was the best, right?
Yeah, it was one of the best.
It was the best in the league, and then the year before that it was the worst.
Yeah.
So they took a very big jump. Now looking at the receiving, T.Y. Hilton had a touchdown. Eric Ebron had a touchdown. Both of them racked up about 40 yards.
Yeah.
I mean, nothing really else to talk about this game. Like you said, Marcus Mariota, definitely a make-or-break season for him.
Mm-hmm.
Do I think that they'll let him walk? Probably not. But if I were them, I would.
Yeah.
So, again, not going to spend a whole lot of time on this game. We don't really care. Same with this next coming game. Patriots-Dolphins. You look at this and you're like, wow. You're like, after the week 1 performance from the Dolphins, you're like, Jesus Christ. You're like, who are the Dolphins going to beat? And then you see that their very next game is the Patriots.
It's the Patriots. And,
of course, Antonio Brown, first game with the Patriots, comes out, 4 receptions, 56 yards, and he has a touchdown. So, what is your thought on this whole Antonio Brown situation with everything that's going on in Foxborough?
I like it. Honestly, I don't like the Patriots. I don't want this, but from just a football standpoint, I think Antonio Brown is the second best player that the Patriots ever had, second best athlete behind Randy Moss, of course. I think the first quarter they got him 3 catches, 3 of those 4 catches. It was good to get him started like that. I think basically this was another preseason game for them, allowing them to get that rapport with Antonio Brown and Tom Brady, who's of course the best quarterback ever. Honestly, I mean right now they are the 1 or 2 for the Super Bowl favorites. Not much to talk about. I think obviously the best team in the league. I think Alabama might be able to beat the Miami Dolphins. It would be close. Okay. It really would. Yeah. So really not much to talk about this game at 43-0. That basically says it.
Yeah, there's really nothing good you can get out of the Dolphins side. I mean, the only good thing I have down is Preston Williams. You need to get him involved more. You need to make him your main priority on the offense. You have Devontae Parker, who is someone that I guess you could call him a bust, maybe not call him a bust. He's really not out of his element yet. Yeah. So I think he can be very good. But then you also have Preston Williams, someone who is huge. He has really big freaking hands. And he had 4 receptions for 63 yards. And he's just a young guy who you need to develop. And you're obviously not going to be able to develop if you have Ryan Fitzpatrick throwing him the ball. Now,
or Josh Rosen, for that matter.
I'm all for Josh Rosen. I'm on the Josh Rosen bus.
Really?
I think he didn't do as bad as people thought he did in Arizona. I think that he got put in. The first time I got to see him was against the Bears. Sam Bradford came in. It was actually a very close game, which it really shouldn't have been. But Sam Bradford started the game. Josh Rosen came in to end it. And obviously he got put in a bad situation. He was going up against one of the best defenses in the league. But I think that Josh Rosen can reform whatever he didn't get done in Arizona, in Miami. And I think that they just need to make the decision already and start him. I don't think the Dolphins are going to win a game this season. How much I like Josh Rosen, I just don't think they're going to win. Maybe
they're not going to win this week.
Maybe they go and get a win against the Bills or the Jets. But other than that, I have no...
They might steal a game from the Jets just because the Jets are playing with Le'Veon Bell as their quarterback.
Yeah, and we'll get to that game eventually.
Yeah, but the Dolphins, I just want to touch on the Dolphins a little bit, what they're doing. Like you said, I think they're ruining Josh Rosen's career, to be honest. Of course, he got put in a really bad situation with the Cardinals, who now have Kyler Murray as their quarterback and is throwing for 350 yards in his 2 first games. But Josh Rosen was put in an unwinnable situation in Arizona. Gets traded to the Dolphins, sits on the bench, and is getting his confidence taken away because he's being put in games where Ryan Fitzpatrick is throwing 3 interceptions, and then Josh Rosen comes in and throws 1. You're ruining his confidence. You're sitting him on the bench. I don't like what they're doing. I think Minkah Fitzpatrick getting traded to the Steelers for a first-round pick was good for Minkah Fitzpatrick, to be honest.
Yeah.
But you can tell this is just a scratch year for the Dolphins. I don't like anything that they're doing. I think they're doing everything wrong.
Yes, they are. And Dolphins fans should be very happy that their team's going to go 0-16 because they're going to get Tua Tagovailoa.
Now, what do you do with Josh Rosen? What do you do with these 3 quarterbacks?
Dude, I don't even know. I honestly could not give you a legit answer about what they're going to do this offseason. It depends on how they do Josh Rosen. If they think that honestly, I can't see Ryan Fitzpatrick at the Dolphins next season or anywhere, actually. But I think that maybe you go ahead and you draft Tua. Obviously, he's going to be the best player on the board. Draft Tua, and then you see what happens in the preseason. I mean, if Josh Rosen has to go through this again, it's really going to mess him up.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I like Josh Rosen. I liked him at UCLA. And I hope that this really doesn't happen to him, but I have a feeling the Dolphins are going to get the first pick, and they're going to take Tua. So I am going to get away from this Dolphins game, but we're going to stay in the division. We're going to go with the Buffalo Bills taking on the New York Giants. And what a dumpster fire. We go from one dumpster fire to a little less dumpster fire. But in the Giants, I don't even know what to say about the Giants. Saquon Barkley is their whole team. 107 yards, had that long touchdown. If you look at Eli Manning, 250 yards, a touchdown, and 2 picks. And honestly, one of the picks wasn't even his fault. I don't think that he really relatively played bad. I think you put a lot of pressure. I think you put a lot of the blame on the Giants' defense. The Giants' defense has never been good, and they're really not doing anything to revitalize it. You have Jabril Peppers, who is becoming one of the youngest safeties, the best youngest safeties in the league, and he's the only person on this defense.
Really, yeah. Him and Alec Ogletree, and that's basically it.
I don't even know about Alec Ogletree. I've heard
Janoris Jenkins is a shell of what he used to be.
I've heard that Alec Ogletree is not even doing anything. I've heard plenty. If you look at his stats last season, Alec Ogletree had probably one of the worst seasons he could have had last season. Maybe he picks it up this season. I don't know. But I'm going to stop talking about the Giants because I'm going to talk about Bills Mafia. What do you think about Bills Mafia? Because you know that I am up there with the Bills. I'm not a Bills fan, but if I had to have a second team, it would be the Bills. What do you think?
I believe the Bills.
Hey, 2-0 by the way.
They're going to make the wild card this season.
Really?
I believe they will.
Hot take right now?
The Bills are going to make the playoffs this season. All right, that's all I'm saying. Bills are going to make the playoffs this season. I like Josh. I really like Josh Allen.
I
really like Josh Allen. I think the Bills have one of the most underrated coaching staffs in the league. I think they're doing they are the complete opposite of the Miami Dolphins. They are doing everything that they should be doing.
Yes.
Devin Singletary, a new running back who's playing really well. Obviously, he got that hamstring injury. Looks like he's going to be okay. They said he's day to day. Frank Gore, reliable Frank Gore.
Had a touchdown.
Dude. 68 yards, almost 20 carries, dude.
Wow. Okay.
I mean, such a weird receiving core. John Brown, Cole Beasley, Isaiah McKenzie. It's a really weird receiving core. It's working. Mm-hmm. So John Brown looks like he's finally becoming what we thought he should be in Arizona.
Yeah.
Becoming an actual number 1 wide receiver, which is awesome. I love him. Dude is faster than lightning itself. Cole Beasley is just an average, average slot receiver, but he's making the most out of what he's given. Josh Allen is just really good, and I love that defense, man. That defense is killer.
I think the Bills got away with a steal in Ed Oliver.
Oh yeah.
I think that every other team that didn't draft him, besides I guess the Cardinals, made a really bad decision. Ed Oliver was actually a Heisman hopeful at the beginning of his senior season or whatever his last season was. Yeah. He was talking about the Heisman, a defensive tackle winning the Heisman. Like you can't even make that shit up. My bad cussing. But yeah, like you said, Cole Beasley's doing his stuff in the slot. 4 receptions, 83 yards. He's old, but he's still getting it done.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at this defense, it is stacked.
Definitely.
Tre'Davious White, Tremaine Edmonds, Micah Hyde. Oh my gosh, with
Add in
Lorenzo
Jordan
Alexander. Yeah, Lorenzo Alexander, Ed Oliver, Jerry Hughes, and Jack Lawson. Like, come on, this defense is stacked. Top 5 defense in the league. And I do believe this team will make the playoffs. They won't win a game, but they will make the playoffs.
I think that with the Bills starting 2-0, they are a force. They are a force that needs to be reckoned with in the AFC. Right now, tied in first place. Understand that, with the Patriots.
What do you think? What do you think of the Giants? What do you think about the Giants' decision to bring Daniel Jones in the starting lineup?
I think that Daniel Jones was the right pick for the Giants. I think that I liked Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones is very good. Obviously, he proved it in the preseason. He ain't coming out here and just taking no baby steps. He's throwing touchdowns. He's lasering the ball in. Like, Daniel Jones right now is your future quarterback. Now, Eli Manning, you look at Eli Manning and you're like, damn, man, it's Eli Manning. 2 Super Bowls, but one thing, if you take away those 2 Super Bowls, then, like, what is he? He's really just an average quarterback.
He's at this point he's below average.
Yes, definitely below average. He's had 16 seasons in the NFL. He's made 4 Pro Bowls. And I think this is the time you need to step up to Eli and you say, hey, you're not cutting it. They did it last season one time and then basically regretted it.
Yeah.
And then they're going to do it again. Daniel Jones, I think that if you're going to put him in, you might as well just put him in at the beginning of the season. I don't think
it was weird timing.
Yeah, very weird timing. Going into your 3rd game. I think that he should have played at the beginning of the season. I hope he doesn't do bad. I hope he does very good. Because then it's going to look like the Giants are bad. Yeah,
if you look at this offense in a few weeks, once their wide receivers are back, Golden Tate coming off suspension and Sterling Shepard, who is injured, it might be an okay offense. I mean, definitely. Daniel Jones, depending on how he plays, along with Saquon Barkley, who's the best running back in the league, Evan Ingram at tight end, who's a very serviceable tight end, Saquon obviously catching passes out of the backfield, Golden Tate and Sterling Shepard, along with Benny Fowler and Cody Latimer. That is a serviceable offense.
Definitely. But we are going to get away from this dumpster fire of an organization, and we're going to go over to the Seahawks. Steelers. Very good game on paper. That looked like it could have been a barn burner. It looks like it could have been back and forth, and it really was. I'm not going to lie. The Seahawks only squeaked out of there by 2 points. But the huge thing from this, obviously, is Big Ben goes down. I don't know what it was from the video. It was him throwing a pass, and then he instantly held his elbow. Then you also have James Conner, who's your starting running back, questionable with a knee injury. So your offense is kind of taking a hit now that you have Mason Rudolph starting and Juju Smith-Schuster basically left there alone. What do you think about this Steelers offense? What do you think that they need to do? What do you think that needs to happen with the play calling now that Big Ben is out? I want to get your input.
There's a lot of ways we can look at this. If we look at from the standpoint of wins and losses, I don't like the way that this offense looks. James Conner doesn't look like what he looked like last year. Juju is getting doubled and is he's not playing how we thought he would. Dante Moncrief is dropping passes left and right. James Washington is, he's James Washington. We haven't gotten to his full potential quite yet. I don't think Mason Rudolph is set up to succeed. I like that the front office traded for Minka Fitzpatrick. I do like that because
very good pickup.
It shows that they have confidence in Mason Rudolph because they're willing to give up that pick. I think it shows confidence in Mason Rudolph. I think that will, in turn, help him. But with this offensive line not playing up to the standards that it should, it's supposed to be one of the top 5 offensive line in the league. They're not playing up to standard.
David DeCastro, Andrew Villanueva.
Yeah. I mean,
obviously you lost Marcus Pouncey, but do they still have Marcus Pouncey?
No.
Okay, they don't.
Mike Pouncey. No. But they need to play better.
Definitely. Going over to the Seahawks. Seahawks 2-0 now. Should we start to look for them?
Oh, yes, 100%. Russell Wilson is just, dude. Russell Wilson's so good at football.
He got paid that contract in the offseason.
Did he deserve it?
I think he is the highest paid quarterback right now.
Yeah.
Just because of that.
Yes, I believe.
300 yards, 3 touchdowns. And then you have that run game. I've always looked at the Seahawks as a running team. They proved it. Chris Carson, Rashard Penny, maybe the best starting and backup running back in the game. 60
Definitely.
yards, basically 60 yards from the both of them. Rashard Penny had that touchdown that he broke out at the end. And then you look at the receiving corps. Number one person I'm going to look at, DK Metcalf. DK Metcalf is someone that was praised on social media. He was someone that was praised by all the analysts. And he fell so far. I can't tell you what round it was in.
Steelers got steal.
But
Not Steelers, Seahawks, sorry.
The Seahawks definitely stole DK Metcalf. I think he was one of the best receivers in that class, and he definitely went to a team that knows how to use him. He looks very good right now.
Along with Tyler Lockett.
The speedy guy.
I mean, it's just a good offense, man. I mean,
Definitely.
Russell Wilson is leading a really good offense. Defense isn't amazing. Definitely not what we were used to seeing from the Seattle Seahawks. But they're serviceable. It's a serviceable defense.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely one of the better teams in the league. Will make the playoffs. Will they make a run? We don't really know if that defense can hold up. But I really like what I'm seeing from their offense.
Yeah, and Tyler Lockett had 10 receptions with 79 yards. Only had, I think he had 2 missed catches. He had 12 targets. So, and I really like the Seattle running game, how they split carries so evenly. You look at Chris Carson, 15 carries. You look at Rashard Penny, 10 carries.
Yep.
Like, they are staying near each other. You don't have Chris Carson basically getting worn out the whole game with 25 carries.
And they believe in these guys.
And then Rashard Penny coming in with like 5 carries. They definitely do. I think Chris Carson's one of the best running backs in the league right now. He's definitely a very good fantasy running back. Same with Rashard Penny. They really know what they're doing, especially down on the goal line. They're going to give it to him. He's a big back. But he'll definitely get him in the end zone. Going to our very next game, we're going to look at this game as a... You kind of knew Dallas was going to win. Dallas versus the Redskins. They beat them 31-21. Dak Prescott is playing out of his mind right now. You could make the case that he's playing 2 shit teams. Sorry for my language. But he's playing 2 very bad teams to start his year. But he is showing out. He had 269, 3 touchdowns. He did throw a pick, which was like tipped anyway.
It was tipped.
So it really wasn't his fault. You get Zeke back. He's looking like Zeke. And you have an emerging star in Michael Gallup, who is becoming basically your second receiver on this team. And I really like Michael Gallup. You know how much I like Michael Gallup, especially, and then having Jason Witten come back, and Amari Cooper is obviously the number 1. And who is this guy? Devin Smith? Hello?
Devin Smith was drafted in 2016, torn ACL 2016, torn ACL 2017. Hasn't caught a pass since 2016.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that was his first catch was that touchdown on Josh Norman. By the way, Josh Norman is terrible. All right,
lining up with
that.
Josh Norman is a problem in itself. Josh Norman is obviously a shell of what he was in Carolina. He is nothing now. He got burnt by a fifth receiver, basically.
Pretty much.
And a guy who barely ever plays. And honestly, I would expect a lot more from Josh Norman. This Redskins defense was supposed to be very good. Adding in Landon Collins, and their D-line is amazing. Drafting Montez Sweat, obviously. But the Washington Redskins do not look good at all. Obviously, the Cowboys, very, very... Their offense is an explosion, and their defense looks even better. The Dallas Cowboys defense is very good. But I'm going to go over and look at the Washington offense. You do have Case Keenum, who is starting.
Mm-hmm. Didn't look that bad. He didn't look that bad.
Honestly, hasn't looked bad. Obviously, Case Keenum became a household name when he was in Minnesota. Took them all the way to the playoffs. Or not? Did they make the playoffs? The wild card?
Yeah, no, they did.
And then he had 2 touchdowns, 221 yards. What else can you ask for? Obviously, you have Dwayne Haskins on the bench. Does Dwayne Haskins need to come in? He really doesn't.
No, I really think, despite them losing, I don't think, with Darius Geis being hurt and not really having a number 1 wide receiver besides Terry McLaurin, I really think the Redskins, I really like him, but I think the Redskins are playing this very well. Case Keenum is definitely a serviceable quarterback until Dwayne Haskins is ready. I don't think he's ready yet. I think them sitting him a year is going to really help his growth. Start him next year. It's going to be great. You have Darius Geis back. This young wide receiver, Terry McLaurin, turning into a star, along with this defense getting 1 year older. They're a pretty young defense. So, get them all a little 1 year older. This team could end up being good next year. I don't see them being that great this year because their offensive line has a lot of injuries. Every year, it feels like. Every year I hear that the Washington Redskins have hurt linemen. Defense is, again, very young. They're not going to be able to do anything this year, but I do like what they're building.
Definitely. And obviously, Adrian Peterson, who was a healthy scratch last week, comes in this week. Looking at this Washington running game, it looks immense. It looks disgusting. Yeah. They 47 yards on the ground as a team. And then you got lucky with the touchdown. Somehow you got all the way down to the 2 or whatever they were on. And Adrian Peterson basically just bowling balled his way into the end zone. But this defense definitely needs to get a year older and understand what their job is. Yeah. And like I said, Terry McLaurin is definitely becoming their number 1 easily. Yeah. I'm pretty sure he went to Ohio State. Yes, he did. He was the number 1 at Ohio State. 6-foot dude. He definitely is showing out right now. But that is all I have to say about the Cowboys and Redskins right now.
I mean, I do kind of want to talk about the Cowboys.
Okay.
Real quick. Talk about Dak Prescott. As people do, you might not know, I'm a Dallas Cowboys diehard fan.
Yes.
All right. I'm putting it on the record right now.
Great.
Dak Prescott is going to win the MVP this season.
I knew you were going to say that.
All right. 269 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. Like we said, the 1 interception, it was not a great pass. It was definitely catchable. Turned into an interception, obviously. He had 5 rushes for 69 yards. He had that big run where he stared down Josh Norman. Could have scored the touchdown, but instead he ran right up to Josh Norman and just stared at him and stiff-armed him. Zeke, 23 rushes for 111 yards. Second best running back in the league. And like you said, we have 5 basically elite targets.
Yes.
Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup, Randall Cobb. Jason Witten is somehow... Bald Jason Witten is looking amazing. And then this Devin Smith dude coming out of nowhere. And obviously you have Zeke coming out of the backfield. I'm not even saying this is a biased part. I would say even if I wasn't a Cowboys fan, this Dallas team is looking really good. Of course, like you said, they are not playing good teams. But we'll see what happens when we do. I think they can compete with the best. I do have them going to the NFC Championship. I have them losing in the NFC Championship to the Los Angeles Rams. But I really like what I'm seeing from this team.
And to talk about that some more, Zeke is just going to be Zeke. Yeah. This dude, you needed to pay him. It needed to happen.
Yep.
If you wouldn't have did it, then it would have been the dumbest moves in sports like ever.
Yeah.
But I'm going to get away from Dallas right now. We're going to go on to my favorite team. We're going to go on to the Chicago Bears, who taking on Denver. the Denver Broncos. And you think of the Denver Broncos, you're like, wow, they haven't been good since Peyton Manning. Well, you're true, because they looked bad, but the Bears, they looked even worse. They looked even worse somehow. Mitchell Trubisky, I love Mitchell Trubisky, but he ain't doing it so far. 2 games right now. In this game, 120 yards. That's it. No touchdowns. No, obviously you want touchdowns. No interceptions. Am I saying I want interceptions? Of course not. But you have this I don't even know what to call it. This offense that Matt Nagy wants to run. He's like, oh, let's run a left tackle screen to the left side. Like, no, we don't need to do that. Just run. They did a much better job this week than last week against the Packers. Just having Mitchell Trubisky hit these short routes. That's all he needs to do. You have fast receivers. You have fast little receivers. And then you have Allen Robinson on the outside. You have Anthony Miller, who's becoming basically our best slot player. Same with Taylor Gabriel. Taylor Gabriel is fast as a mother. Yeah. And he can catch. He can do it all. And, like, they just need to hit him on these out routes, these quick slants. Set up a screen maybe once or twice. Like, Trubisky just doesn't need to be launching the ball downfield every play or handing it off to Mike Davis. Let me rant really quick.
You're good.
Mike Davis might have been the most overhyped pickup the Bears have ever had. Mike Davis, I watched all this stuff online. They're like, oh, Mike Davis, he was so good in Seattle. And then I watch Mike Davis come out every single week, get a stupid little inside zone from Mitchell Trubisky, and doesn't do anything. He's fat. He doesn't need to be on our team. You have Cohen. Easily put him in the slot. You know who you put there when Cohen's in the slot? And you know who you put at running back? David Montgomery. Our rookie. The best, I can say right now, the best rookie running back right now. Like,
yes.
He had 62 yards and a touchdown. Barely even got the touchdown, is what I gotta say. Allen Robinson, 4 receptions, 41 yards. And then, obviously, I'm glad the Bears won. Pinheiro is dinero. He is the best. I love him. Cody Parkey can die somewhere. Like, I don't care. I don't care about him. Pinheiro, 53 yards. You look at that, you're thinking, as they're lining up for this field goal, my heart's on the ground. No way. I'm thinking, no way. No way. Pinheiro cashes this 53 yards, and he does it. Wins us the game. I've talked about the Bears enough. I want you to talk about Denver. How do you think Denver looked?
Denver looked interesting. I don't really know how else to put it. Joe Flacco.
50 attempts.
50 attempts. He had to throw a ball a ton. 292, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Of course, that touchdown to Emmanuel Sanders.
That was an amazing
very
catch.
Late in the game. Amazing catch by Emmanuel Sanders. I like the running game. Royce Freeman and Phillip Lindsay, just a 1-2 punch. Mm-hmm. I think Royce Freeman was very underrated last year. Didn't really get the ball much. I think they're going to give him the ball a lot more this year. Denver, they're going to get last in their division.
Yeah, obviously.
They'll be a 6-10, 7-9 team. I think that division's very good. I think the Raiders will end up being 8-8, 9-7, along with the Chiefs and the Chargers probably going 12-4 and 10-6, something like that. But their defense obviously is not what they used to be. But when you play the Bears with, I'm sorry, but Mitchell Trubisky is not it. I hate the Bears. I'm gonna be honest, but I'm gonna take as an objective look at this. Mitchell Trubisky, 16 for 27 for 120 yards. Just a bunch of nothing. He did a bunch of. I didn't see him do anything special. I haven't seen Mitchell Trubisky do anything special in his career, really. David Montgomery is the highlight of your guys' offense. 18 rushes for 62-1, like you said. Nobody above 50 yards on in the receiving end of it. Trey Burton looks good. Allen Robinson is Allen Robinson. It's just a lackluster offense. Through 2 weeks, Bears have the second least points scored at 19. I mean, you guys have probably a top 2 defense, honestly. One of the best, if not the best defense in the league, highlighted with none other than Khalil Mack, Roquan Smith, Danny Trevathan, Eddie Jack. I mean, it's just a bunch of Pro Bowlers on this defense. Amazing defense. But can you guys get past the offense? I don't think. The only thing I don't like about the Bears is obviously their offense. I don't think they can beat those top teams that have good defenses. I don't think the Bears could beat the Ravens because I don't think the Bears can score more than 10 points against the Ravens. But while they're playing these teams, I think these games Bears games are always going to be close. I think the people they're playing are never going to get more than 20 points. But I don't think the Bears will get more than 25 points. Very interesting game. Obviously, like you said, came down to the wire. Eddie Pinheiro is the most loved person in Chicago.
Oh, yes, he is.
Finally found their kicker. Let's hope.
And adding on to that, Khalil Mack ended up getting his first sack of the season against Joe Flacco. Did not get one against the Packers. But we're going to get away from the Bears right now. We're going to go on to a team you were just talking about, the Ravens and the Cardinals. The Ravens and the Cardinals are two of the youngest quarterbacks in the league, and they are balling. Kyler Murray, 349 touchdowns.
Yards.
Yards, my bad. 349 yards, no touchdowns, actually, and no interceptions, so he's not turning the ball over. Hopefully he can cut down on that. This is an Arizona team who their defense should be a lot better than what it is. You obviously go out, you add Terrell Suggs. Just this team is someone you drafted Zach Allen. I don't know if you know who that is, but he's very good in college. He's a D tackle hybrid. They're barely playing him. I think he needs to get in more. But the Cardinals easily had a chance to win that game against Detroit, and that I think it was Tremaine or something Brock maybe dropped that interception to put in the field goal range, and that kind of messed them up. Obviously, they tied. But looking at these receivers, Christian Kirk is really becoming someone that you need to look out for. Very speedy guy on the outside, very small, someone that you can kind of forget about in the offense. You also have Larry Fitzgerald, who is a first ballot Hall of Famer, getting over 100 yards, which is very surprising. I think he had over 100 last week also, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe he did. He
also had 11 targets, and he only caught 5 of them. So I think that Kyler Murray needs to, hit Larry Fitzgerald, because you don't know how much longer he's going to have left to play. They're very good on the wide receiver. They picked up Michael Crabtree, who's kind of going to fall off the face of the earth. He only had 2 catches, which no one really even probably knew about.
Yeah.
They also have Keyshawn Johnson. Keyshawn Johnson is a very good pick that they made this year. He went to Fresno State. He might have only had 1 catch, but it was for 30 yards.
Yeah.
And now I'm talking about offense, about the Cardinals and everything. You were talking about Baltimore earlier. I'm going to let you rebuttal on Baltimore. What do you think about them right now with defense and offense?
Oh, my gosh. Baltimore is one of my favorite AFC teams. Lamar Jackson, we knew that he was going to improve. Obviously, last year it was running the ball like a running back, and they weren't really throwing the ball at all once they obviously got rid of Joe Flacco. But who knew that he was going to make this much of an improvement? Really? 24 for 37, 272 and 2.
He's really showing out right now.
No way. He also had 16 carries for 120. Come on.
He's doing everything right now.
He is doing everything. I love Marquise Brown. I go to OU. Boomer Sooner, baby. Let's go. Marquise Brown, along with Mark Andrews, also from OU.
Really?
Yes, he is. I love what the Ravens are doing. I absolutely love it. Obviously, we know they have an elite defense.
Definitely.
They also added, who they add? That safety, or his name? Earl Thomas, sorry. Wow. Added Earl Thomas. I really like what they're doing. Mark Ingram is just doing what he has to do. You have Gus Edwards and Justice Hill, 3 running backs that can get it done, along with, like I said, Marquise Brown, Mark Andrews, Willie Snead only had 1 catch, but he can get it done when he has to.
And,
I love what they're doing.
Looking at the the Baltimore offense, like you said, I think Mark Ingram is one of the most underrated running backs in the league right now.
Yeah.
You obviously know what he did over in New Orleans as the backup.
Yep.
The backup, and he was showing out to Kamara. Him and Kamara were literally the best 1-2 punch in the league last year. And then he decides to not go back to New Orleans. He said, "Hey, I want to be the starter. I'm going to go to Baltimore, a team that only runs the ball." And then they kind of switched it up. They're running the ball, but they're also throwing the ball. Like you said, Lamar Jackson, he's going crazy. He 89.9 QBR. Like he is doing everything he can right now to lead this team. Baltimore 2-0. Mark Ingram is definitely the best workhorse, I think, in the league right now. He's going to be doing something special in Baltimore. Yeah. So we are going to go on to another game that we really didn't know anything about. The Jaguars and the Texans. Obviously, the huge story in Jacksonville. You signed Nick Foles. Super Bowl MVP. Nick Foles. That guy. He's here to save you. You're out of the Blake Bortles era. You're gone. He's gone. And you get Nick Foles. And what does he do? Gets hurt the first week.
Breaks his collarbone.
Breaks his collarbone the first week. But then there's a shine of light. There is a shine of light on the bench. Gardner Minshew, a guy who I was told that does arm stretches in a jock strap with sunglasses and a bandana on. He's a monster. He's a boss. He is everything you want to look for in a football player. 213, 1 touchdown in his first start, going up against a very good Texans defense.
Oh, yeah.
He also led the team in rushing yards with 56 and 6 carries. I don't know why Leonard Fournette did not lead the team. Maybe because it was such a low-scoring game. Leonard Fournette, obviously the number 1 back in Jacksonville, 15 carries, 47 yards, and he also got stuffed at the end of the game. One thing I did want to talk about at the end of the game, Gardner Minshew has a bunch of time in the pocket, throws a touchdown to DJ Chalk, and then the Jacksonville Jaguars decided to go for 2. I don't know why they wanted to go for 2 when they could have easily kicked the field goal and tied it. I guess it's the same with the Broncos. They could have easily kicked the field goal and tied it, but they wanted to win the game. Gardner Minshew comes out, hands the ball off to Leonard Fournette, gets stuffed initially, makes a second attempt. Everybody thought he got the ball over the line. He didn't. Jacksonville loses the game. What do you think about that play call, going for 2 in that situation?
Here's the thing.
What would you do?
If they would have gotten it, we would be praising them right now.
Definitely.
So it's hard to really say. It's about the coaching staff. If the coaching staff is aggressive, you're going to go for it. Maybe look. Here's what I think. I think because Nick Foles, that you're sitting out there with a rookie quarterback, Gardner Minshew, who looks amazing, is taking over the league.
Yes, he does.
Why not go for it? You have a good defense. You have that running back. You have Leonard Fournette, who should be a top 10 running back in the league. I like the play call. It didn't go well. Maybe I wouldn't have done that play. Maybe I would have let Gardner Minshew get the ball and try to pass it. Maybe I don't really like Leonard Fournette's the running because he had not been playing well, and Texans have a very good front 7.
Yes, they do.
So
losing
maybe
Van
that
Conley hurts a lot.
Of course. But so maybe the play call itself wasn't good, but I like the idea of going for 2. I'd rather go for a win than a tie. Which sometimes it works, sometimes it didn't. For the Broncos, it did work, but then the defense didn't play.
Yes.
Like I said, but the Jacksonville Jaguars, it didn't work. It happens. They almost stole a game from the Texans at Houston. Deshaun Watson, 16 for 29 for 159. Not a good day from him. You are playing the Jaguars defense, which is top 10.
If I had to compare that game, I would compare it exactly to Mitchell Trubisky. He had at
numbers look very similar.
He had 40 more yards. I mean, what is that? One more drive. And he definitely did not look. He looked out of his element.
He did. Maybe it's because he's getting sacked
what I
so
saw.
much.
Yeah, that definitely could be.
Here's the thing.
Them adding Laramie Tunsil helped a lot, but obviously it's still not working in their favor.
I love Deshaun Watson. I think Deshaun Watson is a great quarterback. And the Texans are going to ruin his career like Andrew Luck got his career ruined by the Colts. Get the man a damn offensive line. Yes, you made a move from Laramie Tunsil a week before the season started. Great. Okay, obviously it's not working yet. That chemistry isn't there. It will get there. I think he will be fine. Laramie Tunsil will be fine. But, dude, oh my God.
Fill out the rest of the line.
Deshaun Watson is getting destroyed. Like, dude has like 2 seconds in the pocket before he's getting smacked. They really need to get him an offensive line, or it's not going to end well for him. And I don't like that. Carlos Hyde had 20 rushes for 90 yards.
I was just going to bring that up.
Duke 6 for 31. Carlos Hyde has really taken over the backfield. What do you think about
that? Definitely, he needed to. I mean, obviously losing Lamar Miller in the preseason goes down with an ACL injury, which sucks. Lamar Miller is another one of those running backs that flies under the wire that everybody forgets about. But they go and make the trade for Carlos Hyde. He is their number one down. They also have Duke Johnson, another Cleveland native, coming to Houston. Duke Johnson might be the best catching third down back in the league. That is what he was used a lot with in Cleveland. But I think that Carlos Hyde just needs to keep doing what he's doing. He is a bigger back. He can fight for those 1 yards. If you need 1 yard or 2 yards, he's gonna get it for you. Like he is just gonna throw himself into that pile and get those 2 yards. But I'm gonna go away from the rushing right now. I'm gonna go to the receiving. Very low receiving game for DeAndre Hopkins. 5 catches, 40 yards. Maybe that's because he was matched up against Jalen Ramsey. And they also have AJ Boye, I don't know how to say his name. He's also going to be matched up with either Kenny Still or Will Fuller, 2 of the best DBs in the game, definitely. But I think Will Fuller is definitely putting a lot more pressure on. He's putting a lot more pressure on defenses to make sure that they really need to watch him. And once he starts showing out, then they can stop double teaming DeAndre Hopkins. Then you got people like Kenny Stills, who's going to play in the slot, who's going to get a lot more touches. But I think that this Houston receiving core is one of the best in the league right now.
Oh, yeah.
And then going over to the same with Deshaun Watson, he also lost 2 fumbles.
Yeah.
You really got to hold on to the ball. And this Houston defense came out with 4 sacks, which it's actually very good for them.
Yeah.
Compared to some other teams. But I think J.J. Watt really needs to step up his game. I know he's also getting doubled a lot. But once he gets doubled, then that second person needs to come in. And that second person was Jadeveon Clowney. But obviously they got rid of him. He's over in Seattle doing whatever he wants to do. But unless you have anything else to talk about this game, we can move on.
No.
Going on to a game that I watched kind of closely, I'm not going to lie. It was the Chiefs and Raiders. Chiefs come out with this one 28-10. How about Patrick Mahomes? Obviously, we knew Patrick Mahomes was going. Some people say he was going to have like what can you call like a sophomore slump or like an MVP coming off.
Yeah.
And then you even have the Madden curse.
Yep.
Which is that flies under the radar a lot. But he is proving to everybody that last year was no fluke. He's going to come out here and do this every single game. 4 touchdowns, 443 yards. He is playing without Tyreek Hill, his number 1 receiver. DeMarcus Robinson.
Never heard that name before 2 weeks ago.
No one even knows who he is. No one even knows who he is. 7 catches, 172 yards, 2 touchdowns. You are talking about that is number 1 receiver numbers right there. He is becoming if he is doing this every single week. I'm not saying he's going to get every 150 yards, 2 touchdowns every week, but if he is putting up 70 yards, 80 yards, 100 yards every week, he is going to be a force to reckon with. Obviously, Kansas City signed LaShawn McCoy in the before the season started, was it before the season started?
Yeah.
But he didn't look very good. 11 carries, 23 yards, but they're not really known for their rushing attack. Obviously, since Kareem Hunt. But I looked at this game. I saw a Raiders team that looked very, very good in the first quarter.
Yeah.
You go up 10-0 on the Chiefs, and then your defense
that doesn't happen.
And then your defense completely shuts down. 20. You're telling me all 28 of their points came in the second quarter.
Yeah.
What do you have to say about this game?
I gotta say that Patrick Mahomes is going to be the best quarterback ever by the end of his career.
Really?
Yes. What was it? 270 yards in the second quarter. Come on, like this needs to stop. I don't know how to, dude. If you're a defensive coordinator? What are you thinking? Like we play the Chiefs this week. What are we gonna do? There's nothing to do. All right, you can't stop
held
Patrick
them
Mahomes.
Scoreless in the first quarter.
Yeah, but I don't think that was the Raiders. I think that was more Patrick Mahomes missing a few throws. They tried to get their running game established, which obviously, like you said, did not work.
Mm-hmm.
They only had 43 yards on the ground. But the receiving options are just insane. Patrick Mahomes is just like Tom Brady. He's making these wide receivers good. I mean, Travis Kelce, we knew Travis Kelce was good, 7 for 107 and 1.
Yeah.
Sammy Watkins, who had a few off years
in Buffalo.
Is in Buffalo. Patrick Mahomes is making him relevant again.
Mm-hmm.
Cole Hardman, Demarcus Robinson, had never heard of them before these two games. I mean, we are seeing something special here.
Definitely. We're going to look over on the Oakland side. I am a firm believer in Oakland. Oakland has always been that team that, like, if they made a couple moves on the defense, if they made the right draft picks, if they did the right things, they could become one of the best teams in their division, or the AFC. Derek Carr, I like Derek Carr. He put up, like, MVP numbers a couple seasons ago when he got hurt. The Raiders were actually on pace to make the playoffs, and then he got hurt, kind of ruined everything. He had basically 200 yards, a touchdown, threw 2 picks, which you don't really want to do against a Chiefs defense that isn't really turned into anything. They have some key players on the team, but their defense really isn't it. You have Josh Jacobs, who's becoming one of the best rookie running backs in the league right now. He put up basically 100 yards and 12 carries. And hello, Darren Waller? Who is that? Darren Waller. I had never ever heard of this dude. He is becoming Derek Carr's favorite receiver.
Yeah.
He is getting all of these looks from Derek Carr, and he had 7 targets, caught 6 of them for 63 yards. Tyrell Williams had their only touchdown. Obviously, then they hit a field goal. He had 46 yards on top of that. But I am a firm believer in this Raiders team. Just like you with the Bills, thinking they're going to make the playoffs, I think the Raiders are going to squeak in.
Mm-hmm.
I think they squeak in maybe in the wild card.
Yeah, I don't think they will. Not even them being bad. I just think there's not. They have really hard in division games.
Yes, they do.
That's 6 games. 2 of them you're going to lose to the Chiefs. You're going to lose one of them to the Chargers at least. I like the Raiders. I like what they're doing. Finally, after 3 years of confusing, I don't know what they were doing the past few years. I love Jonathan Abram. They're pick from the Cowboys. And I like their receiving core. I really like that they got rid of Antonio Brown. I think he was a distraction. Tyrell Williams, Darren Waller, Hunter Renfrow came out of nowhere. Had no idea who that was before the season. He's playing well. Yeah. Josh Jacobs, like you said, one of the best rookie running backs. I like what the Raiders are doing. I don't think it's their time yet. Give them a few years, and they will be. I think they'll be very good. Get that rapport between Derek Carr and a few of these receivers. They're a 7-9, 8-8 team to me.
Okay. And I want to talk about this Oakland defense, but I really don't have anything to say.
Yeah.
Other than Christian Wilkins, or not Christian Wilkins. Is it Christian Wilkins? Whoever they drafted, Clelin Ferrell, that's who they drafted. I think that he can be very good. I think that they need to play him on the outside, not on the inside.
Yeah.
But that's just me. They also have, like you said, Jonathan Abram, hard-hitting safety. Like, I'm talking about Cam Chancellor type hits.
Yes.
This dude is laying people out left and right. I think he's going to be very special. Get him. He's very you gotta cool him down at times. He's very emotional. He's very into the game. I think that could screw over that defense at some point. Hopefully it doesn't. I hope he gets himself in check. But other than this, I have nothing else to say about the Chiefs and Raiders game. Going on to the game of the week, it was the Saints and the Rams. Very first thing I'm going to say about this, Saints, you're screwed. You guys are this. You were 2 weeks into the season and you're basically done.
Yeah, sadly.
You have Drew Brees, who is putting up MVP numbers. Should have, in my opinion, he should have won it last year. I'm not gonna lie. I think that he was on pace to do it again, and then he gets hit by Aaron Donald, arguably the best player in the league. And does something to his thumb. I don't know if you saw the video of him trying to grip the football.
Yeah,
instantly gripped it. He gripped it, instantly dropped the football. Can't do anything with that. But he was your rock on offense. You still have Michael Thomas, obviously. He can still thrive with Teddy Bridgewater, but obviously it's not Drew Brees throwing you the ball.
Yeah. This New Orleans offense, I heard a stat, all right, and you're going to be surprised by this.
All right.
Since week 13 of the 2018 season, did you know the Saints are a bottom 5 offense?
Really?
In points scored and yards.
That's very surprising.
It's weird because, you see Alvin Kamara, you see Michael Thomas, you see Jared Cook, Drew Brees, Traquan Smith, all these people. But really their offense hasn't been that great as of recently. I mean, with Drew Brees or without, I don't think this offense was really – I don't think this team was going to be as good as we had thought. I think they were very overhyped. Obviously, they're riding the hate of all these calls that they're getting, which I got to admit, most of them are BS. They're getting screwed over and over again by the refs. I don't think the refs are out to get them. They're getting unlucky in these situations. But you can't – they're being blinded by that, I think. I think as fans, we are seeing those things and we are overreacting, and we're not seeing what the actual problem is that the play calling is a suspect at best. Drew Brees he's not the same. He doesn't have that arm strength. Neither does Teddy Bridgewater. You're really relying on the play calling, and as of recently, it just hasn't been that great. I don't see them doing anything now. Sadly, like you said, the season is over, I believe. I think once Drew Brees comes back, it's going to be hard to fight to win that division. Right. Yeah, I think it's going to be hard to come back. I like Teddy Bridgewater. I think he's good, but really, I actually think it's the play calling that's going to screw them over. I really do.
I'm going to go over to the Rams right now, who jumped to 2-0 in their division, beating two pretty good teams. I guess the Panthers aren't very good. So, okay, that kind of takes away what I said. But you're going – obviously, this is the game of the week because of what happened last season. The missed pass interference call. You kind of got screwed over, but then you come back. You kind of got lucky. You got very lucky. There was if that was any other ref in the NFL or reffing crew, I think a flag would have been thrown.
Yeah.
You have Todd Gurley, who is, I think, battling injury.
He is, yeah. He has an injury.
And he had 16 carries for 63. He had that touchdown that kind of put him over the edge during the game. Jared Goff is playing very good, 283 with a touchdown, 57 QBR, which isn't very good. But Cooper Kupp, wow, is he back? 120 yards, 5 receptions. He had that long touchdown, 66 yards all the way to the house. Coming off an ACL is the hardest thing you could ever do. And then has Brandon Cooks in his back pocket with 3 receptions with 74 yards, and he had the touchdown that Jared Goff would throw to him. What do you think about the Rams? You said that you have the Rams taking out the Cowboys in the divisional, or not the divisional, the conference
championship.
Yeah, the championship. What do you think?
I like what the Rams are doing. I really enjoy what the Rams are doing. Their defense, it's not the best. They're okay. They get it done. But their offense is where they shine. I think Todd Gurley is the best. He is the best running back in the league, but is not going to be able to show it with his nagging knee injury. And they're not going to run him. They're not going to run him into the ground. They're going to give him 16 carries a game, maybe a little less than that every game. Malcolm Brown doing good, backing him up. I think this is a top offense in the league. I really like what they're doing. They have so many weapons: Cooper Kupp, Cooks, Woods. I mean, when Robert Woods is your third wide receiver, you know you're doing something right.
Definitely. So we're going to get out of this game. We're going to go on to our final two games of the week, the night games. So Sunday night we have Eagles at Falcons. Really had no kind of expectations for this game. After last week, the pounding that Atlanta took from Minnesota, I did not expect them to come out and do what they did, basically. Came out, did everything right, won this game. Basically, kind of off a walk-off touchdown, but not really. That touchdown kind of set the tone for the rest of the game, the last couple seconds. But looking over at the Eagles, the one thing you guys want to look at is Carson Wentz. Could he be battling another injury? Who knows?
He did get hit in the ribs.
He did get hit in the
early
ribs
in the game, which was
It kind of took him out for the rest of the game. You could tell he wasn't in the right mindset.
Yeah.
For the rest of the game after that hit. He's still 231, 2 interceptions and a touchdown. The touchdown kind of came at the end of the game, which, I mean, it put them over the edge, but then their defense really kind of let them down.
Yeah.
Nelson Aguilar, Nelson Aguilar played very good. 8 receptions, 107 for that touchdown. And then Zach Ertz also chipping in with 72 yards. And I kind of want to get your taste on, or your take on Carson Wentz. Obviously, being in the same division as the Cowboys, you don't really have a lot of good things to say about them, I would guess. I want to know what you want to say.
Carson Wentz was in the same draft class as Dak Prescott and Jared Goff. I believe he's the best. I think he's the most talented quarterback from that draft class. He's who I wanted, honestly, for the Cowboys.
Definitely.
He's definitely injured. He was during that game. I don't know. I haven't really heard much since the game of any updates of what's going on. Also, in that game, Jason Kelce got hurt.
Starting center.
Yes, Alshon Jeffrey got hurt. And Deshaun Jackson got hurt. I mean, he got screwed over. They got screwed over by the injury bug. I think they would have won that game if they wouldn't have had all those injuries. Nelson Aguilar dropped that pass at the end of the game that really screwed them over, made so they wouldn't be able to do much. I don't really like their running backs. I think you need to get Jordan Howard into the game a little bit more. Miles Sanders just isn't. I don't think he's. I think he's not into the. I don't think he's got up to speed. You know. I don't think he's ready to get the workload like they've been giving him. And I really like the Eagles. I think they'll bounce back from this. They got screwed over by the injuries.
Yeah, they did. Alshon Jeffrey, definitely their number one option with Deshaun Jackson on the outside with his speed. Going over to the Atlanta Falcons, I'm a very big Matt Ryan fan. I love Matt Ryan. I love everything he does. After what he showed me last week was disgusting. Basically going down 21-0 against that defense really showed a lot of character in that Vikings defense, but then it also showed you how bad Atlanta's offense can look.
Yeah.
Matt Ryan still came out 320 yards. He threw 3 interceptions, but he also put on 3 touchdowns with it. Again, the rushing was terrible.
Oh my gosh.
Ito Smith, 32 yards, and you have Devontae Freeman who chipped in with 22. That's not how you want a running back like Devontae Freeman looking. But then you have 2 of the best receivers in the league right now. I'm down to say Calvin Ridley is going up there. Both of them with over 100 yards. Julio with 2 touchdowns. Julio don't score touchdowns. That's not true. A thing. Julio could go for 300 yards. He won't have a touchdown though. Calvin Ridley chipped in with 1. Like I said, Julio had the other 2. Austin Hooper, 34 yards, a very underrated tight end in the league.
Yeah.
Other than that, I mean, those 3 interceptions. I don't know if you saw the end of the game.
Yeah.
Jake Matthews made the best left tackle block I think I've ever seen. They run a wide receiver screen to Julio. He flattens this corner and basically was able to give them the winning touchdown. I think that's really underrated. And people don't really look at how much that meant to that play.
Yeah.
Desmond Trufant was the one who picked off Carson Wentz twice. He's really trying to revitalize his career. That Atlanta defense, who was hurt a lot last season, really came out and tried to look as best as they could.
Yeah.
Other than Deion Jones, you have Keanu Neal, one of the best safeties in the league. Grady Jarrett got paid in the offseason. He's back. Vic Beasley, someone who's very overrated.
Yeah, I agree with you there.
Vic Beasley is probably the most overrated end in the league. He's like 27 years old, maybe. Hasn't done anything. Other than that, this defense is very mediocre.
Yeah.
But I know there are definitely a bunch of teams that will carve up this offense or this defense easily.
Yeah.
What do you think about the rushing attack? How do you think that they're going to be able to overcome this 22 yards from Freeman?
I don't think they can. I really don't. I have seen Devontae Freeman over the years, and he's looked good, and he's looked really bad, and he's looking really bad so far to start off the year. I don't like the Falcons' running game whatsoever. I think they messed up when they let Tevin Coleman go.
Definitely.
I really see no hope with this rushing attack. They just didn't look good. It wasn't even the fact that the offensive line wasn't getting holes, because they were. Mm-hmm. These running backs are just not doing anything. They're not able to beat the one guy. Devontae Freeman has never really looked the same since he got injury prone. Ito Smith gives me a little bit of hope with 8 yards per carry, but one of them was a sweep to the right where there was actually nobody out there. The corner got sucked in somehow. I don't know what happened to him. So really, I don't see any hope with this rushing attack.
Yeah, talking about that offensive line, they've really revitalized that offensive line at Atlanta. They're only giving up 1 sack. It was for 10 yards, but that's about it. And like you said, they are opening holes for him. He's maybe not seeing them. He just doesn't know what he's doing. Yeah. I hope that Devontae Freeman can fix whatever he's doing. Yeah. But we are going to go to the final game we're going to talk about. We're at an hour and a half in recording. And we're going to go with the Browns and the Jets. You look at this game, the Browns and the Jets had the very first Monday night game ever in the NFL. And I'm pretty sure the Browns ended up winning that game also. Spoiler alert, Browns won this game. Very easily, I should say. Odell made another amazing catch. I don't know if you
early in the game. Yeah,
Odell in his first game back at MetLife, or back in New York, basically, comes out, 6 catches, 161 yards, and he had that quick slant that was taken 89 yards for a touchdown. I don't know what else you could ask for in a homecoming. You also had Jarvis Landry and Nick Chubb get in there with some receptions. 35 yards, basically, average out for both of them. And then Nick Chubb, 62 yards on the ground. He also had that touchdown. I think this... Do you think that... I'm going to ask you a question. Do you think that this was a fluke offense going up against a very mediocre defense? Or how has the offense changed since getting stomped by the Titans?
I have mixed feelings about this offense. I love Baker Mayfield.
Me also.
I think he will be one of the best quarterbacks in the league in a few years. Then again, I think they have a terrible offensive line. They need to fix that. Baker is getting dismantled back there. Nick Chubb, I love Nick Chubb. He looks amazing. I love their running game. Obviously they have these weapons: Odell, Jarvis Landry, David Njoku. They have all these people that they can throw to. I'm not going to put any stock in this game because it was the Jets playing with Luke Falk as their quarterback, because Trevor Siemian did something to his ankle. I thought he broke it, but then he got up and walked off the field. I don't know what happened.
I think he did break it.
Okay, then I don't know how he walked off the field.
Because I'm pretty sure he's out for the season.
Oh, okay, so basically, you're playing against a quarterback that doesn't even belong on the field.
Yeah.
In Luke Falk. I don't really put any stock into this game. besides, the only thing that I'm actually looking at and actually has importance is how bad the Browns' offensive line looks. Quinnen Williams did not play in this game. The Jets were down many people. I believe they were down 3 from their starting front 7, and you still sacked Baker Mayfield 4 times. I mean, come on. This offensive line is terrible.
You lose Quentin Williams. He's in a walking boot, I'm pretty sure. They don't know how his ankle's looking. And then you also lost Avery Williamson in the preseason. Yeah. And also, C.J. Mosley didn't play.
Exactly.
You had Blake Cashman who filled in for him. I like Blake Cashman, rookie. I don't have a problem with him playing.
Yeah.
But Le'Veon Bell really did not
Le'Veon Bell was doing... He didn't do anything, but he was doing everything. He was literally
the
offense.
Best way to put it. Literally, he didn't do anything, but he was doing everything.
He was half of Luke Falk's completions.
Yes, Luke Falk. I'm not going to lie, Luke Falk did not look bad. I mean...
It was because he was literally just dumping it off to Le'Veon Bell every play.
200 yards, coming in as a third string. I mean, you can't really ask for anything else. But yeah, he didn't know what he was doing. He definitely had no intention of playing.
Yeah, he's never dressed for a game, but he didn't dress for a game before this.
That is crazy.
He dressed and hey, okay, guess what? I'm going in because Sam Darnold has like a freaking mono and can't play. And then Trevor Siemian dies. And
mono will keep him out until week 7, I think.
Something like that.
They said something like that. Robbie Anderson looked pretty good. 4 receptions, 81 yards. His longest catch was 36. And Jamison Crowder taking a very, very big drop from last week.
Yeah.
He was basically everything last week. And they barely even looked at him this year.
I don't think they looked at him until the 3rd quarter or 4th, something like that. It was very late into the ballgame where they finally actually looked for Jamison Crowder. Like I said, they were basically passing to Le'Veon Bell the whole game. Which was insane to me. I was literally just watching, and Le'Veon Bell was doing everything on this team. Here's the thing: if you are going to scratch the season because Luke Falk is your quarterback, I don't think you can give the ball to Le'Veon Bell 21 times. I mean, you're going to get this dude hurt again.
This is what we're saying, but if you think about it, that's what he wants. Le'Veon Bell is coming to this game wanting 30 carries.
That's insane to me.
And he's obviously got a point to prove. He stayed out all last season. And one thing, Myles Garrett had 3 sacks in this game. He is one of the best down linemen. They don't have him really ever play like the outside position, watching the flats or everything. I guess kind of like Khalil Mack. But he is just a hand in the dirt D end. He had 3 sacks, which is amazing.
Yeah. 3
out of the 4 for the team. But unless you have anything else to say about this game, I think we could wrap this up.
Yeah, no, I don't really have anything else to say about.
All right. Well, you guys got our context on all the games. You guys see our Twitters linked down there. They'll be linked below. This has been Connor and Nick tackling sports, and we'll see you guys in week 3.
See you later.